You guys seem to love my series where I take a look at 2022 NFL draft prospects and talk about them, their story, and why their draft stock ultimately fell. We are going to continue that series today, as the subject of today's video was a 5-star recruit, a prodigy coming out of high school, and spent time at 2 big-time blue blood programs before his stock ultimately went from what looked like a first-round pick to later on in the draft. We're going to talk about who he is, his journey, his ups and downs, and ultimately why he ended up falling in the draft. There's not much more to say, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So you're probably wondering who the subject of today's video is, and it is none other than former Georgia and Clemson cornerback Derion Kendrick. But in order to understand why his stock fell, we first need to go back in time. Derion was born and raised in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and was always a big-time athlete. It showed when he got to high school, as he played wide receiver as a 10th grader before he took over as a quarterback his junior and senior year. He was one of those super athletes that could do a little bit of everything, as he led the Stallions to a perfect 15-0 record in 4 straight state championships. In his final season, he passed for 2,693 yards and 30 touchdowns with only 6 interceptions. He also ran for nearly 1,200 yards and 19 scores on the ground. This is one of those guys that you were in awe when you watched him, and everyone knew he was going to play big-time college football. Everyone in the area knew he was special, as one coach said, quote, "Bottom line, Derion Kendrick is the best player in the state of South Carolina. He'll play on Sundays. What makes him dangerous is he loves to compete. As a coach, I can assure you he's the key to their success because you must prepare for him and then the rest of the team." Kendrick was so good that he was seen as someone who could play multiple positions and was also named an Army All-American. He had Clemson connections, as his teammate B.T. Potter was going to be punting for the Tigers, but would Derion join him there? Well, he would. He'd end up staying in state and chose to go to Clemson over the likes of about 15 other programs. Those other offers included Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Penn State, and Wisconsin. Those are as big of schools as you're going to find, so Kendrick's recruitment was obviously national. Why did he choose Clemson though? Well, it was a big-time program close to home, he loved the culture, and he could become their next star wide receiver. The Tigers had developed players such as T. Higgins, Mike Williams, Ray McLeod, DeAndre Hopkins, and Sammy Watkins, so there was no reason why he couldn't be the next great one. The Clemson staff itself was also high on him. Jeff Scott said, quote, "His change of direction and speed stood out to us early on. He's also a returner and is very dangerous with the ball in his hand." One of the only issues with Kendrick, though, was his mindset. He was ejected from games twice during his high school career, once his sophomore year and then one as a senior. The last one, however, was overturned, as he was ruled eligible to play in the next game after it was determined that an opposing player ripped his helmet off, prompting Kendrick to exchange words to him. So yeah, he had one certain and one questionable blemish on his resume, and he knew this wouldn't fly at Clemson, but his talent was enough for teams to give him multiple chances. According to 24/7 Sports, Kendrick was a 5-star recruit, the number 4 wide receiver, and the 26th best player in the class of 2018. He'd also joined 5-star wide receiver Justin Ross, so how would he do when he got there? When he arrived at Clemson, he got a comparison to a former Tiger great. Tony Elliott said, quote, "He reminds me of Sammy. It's just a different gear. When Kendrick moves, he takes off at the line. It's just a different speed." He's obviously talking about Sammy Watkins, and if he was anything compared to him, he was going to have a great career. This would not end up lasting long though, as going into the 2019 season, Kendrick would make a switch from wide receiver to corner. He'd only appeared in 1 game in 2018 and forced a fumble against Furman, but did not get any other playing time, so he kind of had to make the switch, and it paid off. While playing a ton, he recorded 43 tackles, 1.5 TFLs, 2 interceptions, and 5 pass deflections. He also took one of those picks to the house, and this would earn him second-team All-ACC honors and put him on the map at the corner spot. Not only was he doing great on the field, but he also had a huge achievement off the field, as he was hit with a life-changing moment. That same year, he'd have his second son, and this would motivate him to play better and work harder, and that showed. In 2020, he ended up missing a couple of games for disciplinary reasons, but he did end up playing in 9 matchups for the Tigers, recording 18 tackles, 1.5 TFLs, a sack, 1 pick, and 6 pass deflections. Because of how good he was once again named an all-conference player, but this time he was named to the All-ACC first team. At this point, he was a surefire NFL talent, but the off-the-field issues eventually boiled over. I don't know the details of this, and I am not him or was not at the scene, so this is just what I've researched, as apparently in February of 2021, Kendrick was apparently found asleep in his car with a gun on his lap around 3 a.m. According to Rock Hill police officers, he also had a small amount of marijuana, which led to a simple possession charge. The gun charge was also considered a misdemeanor, and he was taken to the Rock Hill jail. He ended up appearing in court and was eventually released on bond. This did not sit well with the Clemson fans or the Clemson coaching staff, as Sweeney kicked Kendrick off the team, saying, quote, "Some people might say he's in the doghouse. I like to say he's in the love shack." Kendrick also opened up to the media as he said, quote, "Family is going to come before anything. My son had some problems going on, so I was with him. I wasn't really at school. It was during springtime, and I had a lot going on then. I was with him, wasn't really doing work, couldn't really do work because I was always in the hospital." It definitely seems like something was going on in Kendrick's life at the time, and while that's no excuse, that could explain what ended up happening. There was one thing that was not negotiable, and that was that he was no longer a Tiger, and he had to hope that another school would take a chance on him. Thankfully, not only did a school take a chance on him, but it was the second biggest program in the sport. Kirby Smart is a very intelligent coach, and he knew that he needed to replace his NFL talent. Eric Stokes went in the first round, and Tyson Campbell went in the second round, so he needed help in the secondary, so he decided to bring in Kendrick. He gave him a second chance once his name was cleared, and Darion was very thankful for the opportunity. Kendrick would become an immediate starter for the Bulldogs, and was also named an All-SEC second-team selection. He finished with 41 tackles, 4 interceptions, and started all 15 games. He's also the defensive MVP of the Orange Bowl, and Kendrick played his best when everything was on the line. After a very special season with the Dogs, Darion was very thankful. He said, quote, "Everybody knows what happened in my situation. Being thrown into the transfer portal, nobody had to take a chance on me at all, but Georgia did. And when I got here, I just fit in, just doing what I do. I came in, put my head down, and put in the work. They accepted me for who I was and not what happened in the past." Sometimes it is really hard to gauge corners based on production, as some would say looking at his stats that he wasn't this superstar or elite level player, but when you watched him play and you took a look at his physical intangibles, you knew he was going to play on Sunday. Because of that, he was a projected first round pick, and while some thought he could slip into the second or third round, the majority of people thought he was a first round talent. That is not what would end up happening though, as he was not selected until the 6th round by the Los Angeles Rams. This was really weird, as he was definitely a first round level talent. So why did his stock fall so much? Well, I think one, NFL teams were worried about his off the field issues, as even though he seemingly did bounce back from them, some were probably worried that if he hit struggle again, he could go back to those old habits. In terms of his actual football abilities, some scouts thought he lacked play strength and needed more patience at the position. To me though, that's kind of a reach, as he played on 2 national title teams and was an all-conference player 3 different times, so it was definitely just the off the field or character concerns. Either way though, the Rams decided to take a chance on him, and after winning the Super Bowl, they grabbed an elite level talented player in the bottom round. Kendrick is a guy who is an insane athlete, has a lot of experience, has played for 2 big time programs, knows how to win football games, and more importantly, seemingly is driven to be the best he can be to provide for his family. I would not bet against him, and I think he's going to make a lot of NFL teams look silly for waiting until the 6th round to grab him. I don't know what's going to happen, but what do you think? If you're a Clemson or Georgia fan, why did Darion Kendrick's stock fall? Who is another player I should take a look at in my next video? And what is also another topic I could take a look at? Be sure to let me know down below, smash that like button if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you are new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.